Hi everybody, it's Colin Stevenson. How you doing? I'm joined today with Gregory Austin, or someone will know him as Greg Austin. Greg and I met on LinkedIn about a year ago, and we've become very, very close. And we've got a great long distance relationship, shall we say. We've spoken about things that people wouldn't believe, and we've also kind of worked together on different, books and things like that. We've spoken about lots of different things. So, Greg has actually written a book, and it's Stellar Resume Writing. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to allow Greg, or allow, that sounds terrible, that.
Right.
I'm
Thanks for allowing me to speak.
You have permission. I'm going to ask Greg to tell us a bit about his book, because obviously now, Greg, we've got COVID-19, where there's a lot of people out of work, struggling. Some people have been out of work for 15 years and their resume is not even up to scratch, and someone doesn't know where to start. So I'll get Greg to tell us a bit about what he does, and then we can go into the COVID stuff.
All right, perfect. So thank you. Hi, everybody. I'm Gregory Austin, as Colin said, and we've been friends for a little while now. And it is pretty cool to get to know somebody who's, I'm in America, he's in Scotland. So I just wanted to point that out. That's the beauty of LinkedIn and modern technology, right?
Yeah.
So I have written a book. It is called Stellar Resume Writing, Secrets from a Corporate Recruiter. And what inspired me to write this book was having read so many resumes that needed help. I've been a corporate recruiter and an agency recruiter now for about 10 years. And so I have a lot of experience of reading thousands of resumes. I know what recruiters are looking for. I know what hiring managers are looking for. And I really wanted to help people stop making unforced errors in their resume writing so they can put it together. And some people just don't know where to start. So this book is really, it's a workbook. It's a manual. There's not a whole lot of theory around it. It jumps right into tactically helping you get it together to the format that's going to make the most sense. We get you interviews quickly.
Excellent. Now we've had lots of conversations where we've went to the deepest, darkest abysses, all the way up to the lightest of places, haven't we, over the last year? Yeah. Now there's obviously there's a bit of depth into what you've written in the book, and as you say, it's tactical. It's about changing the habits. It's about changing the process to make it suit us as a reader, as somebody that's looking to go in and be employed, and have their resume looked at. Now, in terms of the pandemic, COVID-19 disaster that seems to be the kind of main talk of everything, there has been a lot of people that have lost their jobs, and there have been a lot of people who are struggling with their CV or resume, whatever they choose to call it now. In terms of somebody that we just spoke about there, so maybe 15 years in a corporate job, they've then been asked to leave, or their jobs run out, the company's closed down, they've no longer got an income. Now, that's first of all a shock, okay? It's a shock for the person. How do you believe that reading the book can allow them to kind of help them with their CV?
Well, it can help people in different ways in different stages. Some folks are really feeling comfortable with what they've done in the past and their resume and CV, but they really want to stand apart. They want to make sure that their CV is so even if you're an experienced resume writer, this book can help. There's tips, there's tricks, there's things to help tweak your resume. And it also goes from the very top. If you don't even know where to start, this is going to tell you from, do I do a chronological? Do I do a functional resume? Does it have to be one page? Can I have multiple pages? What are the rules? What are they looking for? What's going to be okay? And it talks about how to format it, what to put in there to make it really stand out.
I love that, because I've not literally written a CV now in about 5 years. And I'll be completely honest, I genuinely would not have a clue where to start, because even I've got Windows 10, not trying to plug Windows in any way, but I've got Windows 10 on my laptop here, and they come up with templates for a resume or a CV, and when it comes up, I don't know what template to choose. Do I put a picture under or not put a picture under? So would you go into this kind of depth with a client face to face, is what you would do with a book, or would you suggest that they kind of use the book as guidelines first?
So no, I would say use the book first. Those templates can help you. They can hurt you. They're trying to make it look pretty. They don't know what they're not. It's the recruiters didn't build those templates. Otherwise, it'd be a lot more valid. So when it comes to things like, gee, do I have a picture? Do I not have a picture? Honestly, that is culturally motivated. So in the United States, no, absolutely not. We don't do that. You don't want to. There's so much racism is so apparent in the recent tragedies. So you don't want to point out those types of things, even though we're supposed to be this diverse, and we are a very diverse country, but racism still exists, and that's why you don't want to have a picture. However, in other countries, Europe, Middle East, having the picture is very common. It's normal. So I think it's all relative to what some of the cultural norms are.
Yeah.
But I still don't recommend them from an ATS standpoint. ATS stands for Application Tracking System, because what it does is it takes your resume and it pulls all that information and puts it into places into the database. And if you have things that it can't recognize, it can get screwy and cause problems. So you want to keep it as simple as possible from that perspective.
Okay, thank you. And what I was going to ask a question, like, so when you're writing the book, where did your inspiration come from? Did you do it from on the basis of kind of helping masses, or did you do it in terms of individual cases where you remembered them and they inspired you more than trying to push the information?
To answer that question, yes. See, all the above.
Yeah.
Because I want to be able to help a lot of people. I mean, when I've worked with candidates one-on-one, especially in the agency world, where it was, coaching your candidate as part of what you do, even if it was someone I knew I couldn't fit into a position, I would try to leave them with something so that they felt a little bit uplifted and that they could take with them when they walked out the door, even though I wasn't going to be able to present them. And I would usually mark up the resume and say, hey, do this, adjust this, double check this. You got a little error here, a grammatical problem here. And so they at least, even though they were being soft rejected, they at least had something to build on to get better. Being a corporate recruiter, you don't get that opportunity as often. Sometimes you can help some folks, but really more hands-off. It's like, well, it is what it is, and this is how they're being presented, and I have to present them fairly to the hiring manager in that way. But I see so many small and large unforced errors in these resumes that, gosh, they just would have taken another look. They would have caught that. Or if they would have reformatted it in this way, it would have been so much easier for us to read. So those types of things have inspired me. Sorry.
No, sorry. I remember that I had put an article on LinkedIn, must have been about 8 months ago, and I read it, and I proofread it, and I read it again, and I was really happy in terms of my language, my speech, and I'm not highly educated in terms of English. I can get by, but I'm not at the level where ATS systems and things where they're asking for phrases. And I remember I sent the the whole article to you, and I thought you were going to come back and go, do you know what? There was a lot of truth in that. Great article. But what I got was great article when you fix this, and I was like, wow. And I actually couldn't actually believe the amount of grammatical errors that I had made, and it just shows when you get somebody that knows what they're actually talking about or what they're looking for, and they've got that type of sharpness, shall we call it, and that they're able to kind of put that in. So I can talk firsthand that I can actually put into words and tangible. I mean, I think I still have the template of you actually saying, and crossing this out and taking this off, and I was like, wow. And when I did it, it made so much more sense, because it was like I didn't have to over explain paragraphs. You actually had me taking out 3 lines at a time sometimes, and I'm like, wow, I didn't even have to say that. So obviously, when people are writing these resumes or CVs, whatever they want to call them, you're putting them through so that they're getting the information that's needed and not the unnecessary stuff also. So it's not just about mistakes, it's about getting the information across without boring the hiring manager or these types as well.
And making it easy on the eyes. So, imagine you're a recruiter, right? And you post this job and you need to find the best, 3 to 5 candidates for the hiring manager. You post it on Friday, you come back Monday, and you've got 125 resumes. And you're like, whoa, okay, now how do I find, the best out of this? So to be honest, the ones that make it easier to read, you get to your, 20th, 30th resume, and someone writes it like a book, and it's just paragraph, paragraph, paragraph. It's so hard to get through. There may be a tremendous resume, be a tremendous candidate, but you're going blind to trying to get to the important things you need to know. So that's where I, really talk about bulleting, really making it concise, but really focusing on your accomplishments and what impact. So as soon as they see those impacts in your professional skills and then in your job history itself, they're going to want to read on, and they're going to get more and more excited. And sometimes they'll get halfway through your resume saying, that's the one, I'm going to give this person a call.
No, that's absolutely great. And what was I going to say? That when you actually put this book together, when you actually took your time and you did the paragraphs as well, but you did it like a resume to the degree where you weren't overly giving the information, so the reader's able to tangibly take it out. So it's like you're living by your own, teachings.
It is because it's short. It's not huge. I mean, that's it. And it doesn't just cover resumes. It does cover things like how to best use job boards. It talks about LinkedIn. The best usage is there. It talks about cover letters. You can buy books on cover letters. I don't really overemphasize cover letters because in some cases they just don't get read. Yeah. And if you have a really just boilerplate cover letter that says, "Hi, I'm Bob, and this is what I do, and I'd really like to work for your company, Mr. Hiring Manager," it doesn't add anything, So you gotta really put some effort into it in order for that to make an impact. But yes, I try to keep it very concise and just get right to the heart of the matter. So if you're unemployed and you're urgently trying to find a job, you don't want to read a 400-page book to help you get started.
No, and I get that. And we'll go back to touch on the unemployment. Now, I know for sure there's been people that have been out of employment for 4, 5, 6 years, and they've had no they've had no drive to be able to do so. And you've helped these people along the way, and you've actually helped them into employment, long-term unemployed. So it's not just somebody that's fresh off. It's like, this will help people that have been long-term unemployed as well as fresh onto the market, as shall we call them.
Right.
And again, I've seen firsthand, without knowing any names, but you and I have spoke about situations, and again, we do talk about deep things, and we learn from people every day. Yeah. And every client you've ever had, you've learned something from, and I know that you appreciate them because that is just who you are as a person. Now, in terms of the book, would you encourage people from long-term unemployed to obviously look into this as well?
Absolutely. I think anytime you can get a fresh perspective of how to represent yourself or represent yourself, if you will, to go back. And thing is if you've been putting out resumes and tens and dozens and so forth, I know some people put out, I've applied for 100 jobs, I didn't get one call. Well, if that's the case, it's probably your resume and or you're applying to the wrong job, and you're either not qualified or overqualified. It sounds silly, but if you're overqualified, a lot of times you won't get a call as well. Yeah. So it's tricky. It's got to be a good fit.
People find it difficult, and a lot of people find it difficult when they come out of a job and they're struggling to get one. So they start putting themselves for very ambitious jobs that they don't have experience in, and then they allow this because I know that you're working on another book about overcoming rejection and things like that. Again, this is a major help to people because it's a massive part. So if people's resume, their CV are not allowing them to get into the door, they're rejecting themselves, and they're allowing them to physically drain them. While all it is a bit of paper with writing that needs to be changed, and then that will give them the energy to move on in a position of power into a job. Do you feel that when people write these type of resumes or CVs that they should be talking themselves up, or do you believe that they should be just giving a kind of neutral opinion of themselves?
No, I think you should absolutely talk yourself up, but not from an over ego, I'm so great. It's got to be factual.
Yeah,
But some people are so, they don't want to come off as arrogant, whether it's in an interview or in a resume. And so they hold back, or they don't think about these accomplishments. Really, what you should be doing every time you accomplish anything of significance or impact to the company, you should that night add that bullet point to your resume or CV.
yeah,
Okay, because you're going to forget the details a year, 2, 3, 4, 5 years down the road,
of course.
and you're not going to remember what it was. Well, yeah, we did this great project, and at the time, it saved the company $500,000. But maybe 5 years later, you don't remember what that fact was. If you can articulate and quantify your accomplishments, those are really, really powerful things. And so you want to have those again at the top of your resume, some of those accomplishments under your professional skills and accomplishments, and then make sure you again put those accomplishments where they happened in
Yeah,
your history. Seems redundant, but it's okay, because if you just say, hey, well, I did this, I generated 600,000 resume or in revenue for a company in 2018, but you don't, or maybe you don't even put a date on it. If you don't know where that is or when that happened, it leaves too much question in the mind of the recruiter or the hiring manager. So you want to be really specific about that.
you and I have got a joint contact, John Lenhart, and
Yeah.
I had a conversation with him last week, and he was telling me about how, or not telling me, but talking about how much people enjoy stories. People love someone that's able to tell, and it doesn't need to be like a novel. It can be a
Right.
few lines telling a story about them in a situation, because people like to listen to stories. So if we can put a kind of small blurb about the situation, how the effect in the middle, and then how it came out, what came out of it, what the solution was. If
Right.
we're able to do that in kind of short period, kind of short sporadic parts, would you think that would be something that you could put to a CV, or would you tend to more about just what happened, the outcome?
So I'm really glad you asked that question, because that leads into one of my biggest recommendations, and the things I'll do for some clients one-on-one when I'm working with them personally is, so you want to start out with a master CV or master resume. And what you want to do is you want to write down everything you can think of that you ever did for each position,
Yeah,
and everything that you have made an impact with in your professional accomplishments and skills. And you want to write it all down. It's going to be way too long. You would probably never ever send that to an employer, because it's going to read a little bit more like a novel,
yeah,
and they're not going to get through it. But from there, then you have this massive history of what you've done. And then you get the job description. So you look at the job description, you take your master CV, and you start picking. I did this, this, and you line it up to the qualifications and to the needs of that job, and you make it more concise and readable. And you do want to bullet it down and make it very relevant to that job. But it's so much easier to edit, right, than create. You do that creation part first and then edit it down. It's going to be so much
yeah,
easier. But you don't want to get too verbose, because some people will tell the whole story in paragraph formats. Like, we really just want to know, what can you do? What impact did it have? Those
yeah.
stories can be reserved for the interview.
Right. Okay. No, that makes a lot of sense. And where can people find your book if they wanted to purchase it?
Awesome. So the easiest way to do it is to go to my website, stellarresumewriting.com, just all one word, stellarresumewriting.com. That leads to a quick description of the book and also a link to Amazon. You can also put in Stellar Resume Writing in the Amazon search box, and that'll also get it there. You
Yep.
can get links also from my LinkedIn page as well.
Fantastic. And what's your name on LinkedIn? Just Gregory Austin, isn't it?
It is. If you look up Gregory Austin, you should be able to find it. If you want to be real specific, it's Gregory Austin 1 is the actual part of the link.
Okay. And Gregory Austin 1. And are you open to people kind of reaching out on LinkedIn and asking for kind of small bits of advice. Obviously, we understand time is yours, and but again, if they wanted to reach out for an introduction or anything like that, you're quite happy with that.
Now, I love to make connections, so I'm always happy to connect with folks. If you mention this video, that will, because I do get a lot of direct messages.
You'll get $1 off.
Right. Well, and it really, this, I've got a massive sale going on right now for, because we're in this period. I want to make it easier for people to get to for less than a cup of a coffee. You can pick up the Kindle version, even really the paperback's less than a cup of coffee. You get a really fancy one. So it's very accessible. So it's tons of value. If you have specific questions, like I said, if you can get my attention by mentioning the video, it will help me to get to you a little faster. But I would be happy to take those messages and respond to them as quickly as I can.
Well, that's great, because again, everything's about reaching out for that first time, reaching out for that book, reaching out for that help, reaching out for that question. I mean, a year down the line, you would think that you and I were actually family. We talk that much. And it's
right.
true. And we talk about family, and it's now we understand the whole working. So what I want to do, I want to kind of finish up there. But is there anything you want to finish off on in terms of your book and what people can expect?
You asked me about what people can expect from this book. So it's going to walk you through step by step how to put this together. And at any point in your progress, you jump to that, chapter, that part of the book. So it's going to tell you about formatting. It's going to tell you about content. It's going to give you bad examples of how not to do it, and then how we fixed that. So it's really tangible. It's really going to help you understand. It's not just, hey, you should kind of do this. It's very specific. Really focuses on making sure you proofread, using job boards to the best of your advantages. Some are really good. Some, like ZipRecruiter, I'm not a big fan of, and explains why. Networking, getting the most out of LinkedIn, how to use other approaches to get the attention of hiring managers and recruiters, and the best usages of cover letters as well.
No, that's great. No, thank you very much, and thank you very much for your time. I'm looking forward, and I generally hope people reach out, because none of us know everything, but some of us know a lot that can help people that don't know as much. And this is the whole point of the book, and the book is generally to help. And because you've obviously dropped your prices for this kind of pandemic, it's the price of a coffee. I mean, I would rather have a job than a coffee. So if that price of that coffee is able to help me out, I think it's absolutely great. And I think it's great that you've done with your work. And I think it's great how far you've come and been able to do the book as well. And I really think people will. And I believe people will really benefit from it. Thank you so much for your time, and I look forward to, we'll chat anyway, but I look forward to finding out how things go with the book.
Thank you so much. It was a pleasure. It was fun to talk with you like this, and I had a good time. So thanks for your time as well.
Nice one. Thanks very much. Cheers, Greg. Speak to you soon, man.
See ya.